The board meeting is available to attendees. Para español, puede conectarse por teléfono de la siguiente manera. Llame al 267-405-4515. Cuando se le pida, introduzca el PIN 429-439-975 y la tecla numeral. Any member of the public has the opportunity to address the board in person during the agendized public comment session by 6:30 p.m. Now let's go ahead and begin with the board roll call. To my far right, we have board member Jackie Philbeck.
Present.
Next, we have board member Juan G. Alvarez.
Present.
Board member Mark A. Lopez.
Present.
And again, I'm board clerk Dr. Jose Paulo Macallis. Moving on to item 1B. Public speakers for closed session agenda items. There are none. Item 2, adjournment to closed session. The board will adjourn to discuss the following items. And please note the board will adjourn to discuss the following items. A, public comment, Government Code 54957, Director of School, Family, and Community Engagement, Fiscal Services Supervisor. B, public employee discipline dismissal release. C, conference with labor negotiator. D, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. And then when we come back from closed session, when we get back, please note that at the start of our reconvening board meeting, we will observe a moment of silence in honor of the lives lost and impacted by the events of 9/11. So, with that said, may I have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Lopez,
Second, Alvarez.
seconded by Trustee Alvarez. Discussion. Hearing none, can I get a motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, 5-0. Let's go to closed session. 4-0. I apologize.
Hello.
Test, test, test. Testing 1, 2, 3. It's kind of cold, no? All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Anaheim Elementary School District September 11th board meeting. I am AESD Board Clerk, Dr. Jose Paulo McAllis, and I call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. This meeting is being conducted in person by means of live video broadcast on our Anaheim Elementary YouTube channel for members of the public. Spanish interpretation of the board meeting is available to attendees. Para español, puede conectarse por teléfono de la siguiente manera. Llame al 405-4515. Cuando se le pida, introduzca el PIN 429-439-975 y la tecla numeral. Item 3A. Let's begin with the flag salute. Dr. Moreno, can you please lead us in the flag salute, please? Flag salute, please. Thank you, Dr. Moreno. Moving on to item 3B. Now, Board President Ruelas is unable to attend tonight's board meeting. The responsibility for presiding over tonight's meeting transfers to the board clerk when the board president is absent. I would like a motion to appoint the board clerk as acting president for tonight's meeting. As acting president, the board clerk will preside over tonight's board meeting. May I have a motion, please?
So moved, Lopez.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes 4-0. Moving on to item 3C, introductions and roll call. To my far right, we have Trustee Jackie Felbeck.
Good evening, everyone.
We also have board member Juan G. Alvarez.
Good evening, everybody.
Followed by board member Mark A. Lopez.
Good evening, everyone.
I'm Jose Paulo Michalis. Good evening, everybody. Moving on to our superintendent, Jesse Chavarria.
Hi, everyone.
Our assistant superintendent of human resources, Dina Melland.
Good evening.
And our new assistant superintendent of education services, Doctora Yadira Moreno.
Good evening, everyone.
Followed by our new assistant superintendent of administrative services, Matthew Slusser.
Good evening, everyone.
All right, next we have our communications coordinator, Belinda Gordillo.
Good evening, everyone.
Followed by our senior administrative assistant, Yesenia Macha.
Good evening, everybody.
We also have our amazing interpreters in the back, Alina Avelar Garcia and Ana Acevedo Diaz. Followed by our technology support technician, our new technology support technician, Cody Hellman, Tony Rincon, and Robert Lee. They're in the back. All right. Now, before we begin, at this time, we will observe a moment of silence for 1 minute in remembrance of the tragic events of September 11th, 2001. Let us take this moment to reflect on the lives lost, the bravery of first responders, and the resilience of the nation in the face of adversity. Here we go. Thank you very much. Moving on to 3D, report of closed session actions taken. There are none. 3E, adoption of the agenda. Now, Exhibit 7B includes resolution number 2024-25/09, which will be updated to reflect the degree title correction for Jose Paulo Michalis from EDD to PhD. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved, Lopez.
Second, Alvarez.
Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Passes 4-0. Special order of business. There are none. So let's move on to number 5. News and updates. 5A. Parent leadership group updates. There are none. Moving on to 5B. Association updates. Cindy Timoti will provide an association update from AEEA.
I'll start by saying thank you for that beautiful moment of silence. I did have a close friend in the second tower, so he made it out, but it still means a lot. And his wife and him were trying to have a baby before he went on that trip for business, and when he got back, she got pregnant with twins. So this is why I wear all of this all the time, because it means a lot to me. So anyway, I digress. Thank you. Okay. Good evening. I would like to take this opportunity to once again thank the board for your flexibility and willingness to be collaborative during the negotiations process that occurred for this 2024-2025 school year at the end of the last school year. AEEA is thankful for the continued support of the board and its negotiations team's desire to work together to come to agreements with regards to this year's health and welfare and the extra workday that is now permanent contract language. This extra day is used for the completion of the multiple mandated trainings and staff meetings that occur at the beginning of the year. These trainings and meetings take a lot of time away from the ever so valuable time that teachers need to actually prepare their classrooms for the students of AESD. The continued health and welfare coverage is invaluable to our members, and for that we are grateful. We are also appreciative of your willingness to approve the teacher release time during music MOU. This gift of time is again extremely valuable and appreciated by our certificated classroom teachers. Please know that this time is being used very intentionally to plan and prepare for the multitude of tasks that our amazing AESD teachers engage in and day out. The 2024-2025 tentative agreements have officially been ratified by our AEEA members, and I look forward to future meetings where we can continue working together to create the best working environments for our amazing AESD staff and students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Moving on to 5C, District News and Updates. Belinda Gordillo, Communications Coordinator, will present the district news and updates this evening.
Good evening, board members, cabinet, and guests. My name is Belinda Gordillo, and I'm excited to share the news and updates for this month. Yeah. Just a moment of intermission here. There we go. Thank you so much. Okay, so on August 20th, Barton's Braille program was featured on Univision Television. For those who don't know, we have some amazing teachers at Barton. We have Mr. Keith Christian, who is visually impaired himself, and he teaches our students that are also visually impaired. We have Mrs. Jackson, who's a orientation and mobility specialist, who teaches the kids about life skills and how to kind of get around, even from walking on the street. and being able to navigate. And then we also have Miss Coakley, who's a Braille transcriber, and we have a lot of different instructional aids as well. And the program's led by Principal Bartolas, and it's just an amazing program that Univision was able to capture. We had a student, he's right there in the corner, his name is Gael Roberto, and he shared his story about how he came to Barton and how it's been helping him a lot, just growing to be, you know, just like any other boy. And he shared how he loves to surf and he loves to ride a bike and he plays a piano. And so he's very thankful to his teachers. So that was a great segment. And then on August 21st, Stoddard Elementary received $7,500. It was a music grant from the Philharmonic Society. And this was thanks to teacher Ms. Kwan. She's a music teacher over at Stoddard. And she was able to get $7,500 worth of instruments for her students. So they were really excited. On August 21st, we had our first group for back to school night, and that was met at Edison, Franklin, Gower, Henry, Juarez, Mann, Olive Street, Price, Roosevelt, Ross, Stoddard, and Sunkist. And so students were able to, they joined their parents, they came together as families, and they were able to do meet and greets with the teachers, and they were able to meet other staff members. And the following week, we did the second group, and that was at Barton, Gwynn, Jefferson, Lincoln, Loera, Madison, Marshall, Orange Grove, Ponderosa, Revere, and Westmont. And again, parents were able to learn about the expectations, schedules, and learn about the different programs such as ELOP and other programs available to our students. So both weeks were very well attended by our parents. And then on August 28th, we had our ELOP family night. It was held at Juarez Elementary, and the theme was celebrating linguistic diversity. We had our DLI representatives talk to parents and teach them about the benefits of a bilingual education. And so that was really well attended as well. The highlight of the event was music duo Andres 123, and they're a bilingual group. And so they sang and danced with the kids, and everyone had a great time. And then on August 30th, it was Chocolate Milk Day for AESD. So after many years, AESD brought chocolate milk over to our schools. And if you recall, a few months ago, there was two students. It was Sophia and Steven. And these two students came before the board and they shared their reasons why we should have chocolate milk at schools. And so I know some of our board members were all for it right away, but you know, it took some conversation with parents, with the board, with our staff, and everyone involved. So we want to thank everybody for letting this happen. Now it's every Friday, and of course to these students for sharing their voice. So they're very excited about that, let me tell you. And then on September 3rd, we had another media interview. It was a Hispanic Heritage Month segment on NBC, and it featured our superintendent, Jessie Chavarria, and our assistant superintendent, Dr. Moreno. And they were interviewed at Juarez Elementary, and they also featured some students in a DLI class as well as a music class, and they were able to kind of share their background as Hispanics and how they got to the positions they are with AESD. So stay tuned for that. It's supposed to air on the 15th of the month. And last but not least, not to make a big deal about Jackie, but Miss Jackie Philbeck had her birthday 2 days ago. So we want to wish her a very happy birthday. And thank you for all that you do, Ms. Philbeck. We really are very happy to have you be on our board and be part of AESD. So thank you, everybody. And thank you, Ms. Philbeck.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Board members, any questions or comments?
No? Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much. That was really sweet. And I got little cakes. And
Oh, we're definitely gonna
cookies
sing
and a
tonight.
beautiful pen
Thank
from
you so
Belinda
much.
With my name on it. I just saw using my fancy pen. Thank you. It was a nice birthday. Appreciate it.
All right, moving on to 6, public speakers. Speakers on agenda or non-agenda items. Requests of visitors. It is the desire of the Board of Education to obtain input whenever possible from members of the community with respect to any items appearing on the open session agenda or on any issue within the subject matter jurisdiction of the governing board. Speaker forms are available in the boardroom and should be presented to the board secretary prior to the beginning of the meeting. Each speaker is requested to limit his or her remarks to 3 minutes so that all who wish to speak may have time to do so. The board shall limit the total time for each agenda and non-agenda item to 20 minutes. Individual speakers may not cede or in any way give their time to another speaker. So our very first speaker is Debbie Schroeder. And Debbie, I'm sure you know, Mark Lopez is our acting clerk, and when you have total 3 minutes. When you have 30 seconds left, he'll show the yellow card, and when your time is done, he'll show the red card. All right.
So my name is Debbie Schroeder, and I'm the proud founding and executive director of Vibrant Minds Charter School. To begin with, congratulations to Superintendent Jesse Chavarria and Assistant Superintendent Yadira Moreno for your new leadership roles in the Anaheim Elementary School District. It's wonderful to see a district that promotes from within. We know that that promotes great consistency, and I know how much love you have for the community and for the scholars and for this district, because I think you've practically grown up in this district like I have. I know you both care deeply, and I know that we will continue to work really well together, and our community, the VMCS community, would love to work harmoniously with the district, with the leadership, as well as the board. The time at the AESD staff and board is precious, and the VMCS community will not take much of your time tonight. We are here to express our sincere gratitude to the district staff for recommending the approval of the material revision for our charter school. The ESD staff, as well as Attorney Suki Aluwalia, were thorough and objective in their analysis of our petition. Good questions were asked of us, and we responded accurately and also made any requested refinements. It's processes like this that help build confidence in an organization like VMCS, and that we are pure in our intent to serve the youth of Anaheim well. We love our scholars, we love our work, and we wish to continue to make a positive difference in Central Anaheim and beyond. We respectfully ask the board to approve our material revision based on the staff's recommendation. We have two other representatives from our school who wish to express their gratitude. Jimmy Bowie is our TOSA for project-based learning. And when we first started talking about project-based learning, we were really skeletal in what it meant for us. And it has grown into something so tremendous and drives so much of what we do for our scholars. And also Yvette Laval, our coordinator for the VMCS Community School. We are community. I think when you're a grassroots charter school, it kind of goes with the territory. But what Yvette, as well as we have done together, has really grown over time. And again, we would love to share anything we've come up with and have a reciprocity in all that we do. I would like you to stand if you're part of our Vibrant Minds Charter community, or even if you want a stretch break. No. So they are also here to express their gratitude and thanks to the findings and hopeful the approval from the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Yvette Lavalle. Is it Lavalle or Lavelle? Okay.
One is French and one is Italian. So, Levaille, I married an Italian, so. Hello, I'm Yvette Laval. I'm a parent of two VMCS scholars. Along with being a parent, I'm a coordinator of the Community Schools Grant. We are so grateful for the permission for our presence to be within the AESD boundaries. We feel honored to have you as our authorizer. We know that in the charter world, being approved by our local district is very unique. And we are very blessed to have this honor. We are in our 10th year, and we have not grown weary. We are still as excited as we were the first day that the school opened. And we are so appreciative of your approval of our material vision to continue the work that still needs to be done. As I shared earlier, I'm currently working on our second year of the planning portion of the Community Schools Grant, and I'd love to kind of share with you what we've been working on. So during our first year, we conducted surveys, gathered feedback from parents, staff, and scholars, and community partners to identify our needs. Based on this, we piloted many programs. We offered CPR and first aid classes in Spanish and English, offering 21 of our parents this certification. We have partnership with Cielo Community, providing business guidance for 25 parents that wanted to start their own business. We've offered parenting classes and with the topics of child development, communication, mindfulness, and empathy. We've offered parent coaching for our families that may be having some struggles with children that have some behavioral assistance needed by Dr. Araceli Roque. We partner with the California Public Health Department and CalOptima to educate our parents on the dangers of fentanyl, and we provided naloxone throughout our whole community. We've also maintained some long-withstanding partnerships like the UCI Mobile Eye Unit, where we've offered 70 full eye exams this past year, and 55 of those required free glasses. We have a long-standing partnership also with Orange County Healthy Smiles, and we did 45 dental cleanings on campus that helped our families with their time, but also kept our kids in school a little bit longer than taking the day off from school to get their teeth cleaned. Also, Chapman University Crane School of Behavioral and Health Sciences. They do a 4-part hearing assessment that has actually over the years helped 3 different kids to identify that they need hearing aids that they didn't know before. We have partnerships with Katarina's Club that provides every week 50 meals for our families that are facing food insecurities. We work with We Tutors. They tutor a lot of our kids in the after-school program. And one unexpected thing that we discovered at the very end of the school that we're going to be tackling is our 6th graders had a party, swimming party at Pearson Park. And we found out that of our 32 scholars that were in 6th grade, only 5 of them could swim across the pool. That's an issue. So we're going to be providing swimming classes for our upper graders and work our way down to make sure that before they leave, they have the opportunity to learn that. Also, okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Wow, we got a new feature, huh? I'm sorry, we never had that beat before. We'll work on that. Oh. All right, next up we have Jimmy Bowie.
Thank you for having me. My name is Jimmy Bowie. I'm the teacher on special assignment for project-based learning. I'm the coordinator. And I ask this question all the time. I live in Riverside. We have families, Randall Valley, Marietta. The question is, why do we drive so far out here to either work or go to school? It's quite simple. We love it. We love Vibrant Minds Charter School. I can tell by the attendance, by all these people right here. And you can tell by their faces, their hearts are just shooting out of their chests right now, okay? On top of loving Vibrant Minds Charter School, we love Anaheim. Now, speaking to that, the love that we have for our school, the love that we have for the community, with project-based learning, I've had the privilege, and you have given that to me, you have given that to us. I've given 4 years to make project-based learning what it is today at Anaheim for Vibrant Minds. And it's so important that we continue this journey, that our overall goal is that each year we hold a showcase. We've been holding a showcase the past couple years, but it's been in-house. This coming spring, it's going to be open to our community. It's going to be open to you. This is my open invitation to you to come check out what we do. And I'm going to tell you, when we have our scholars, our staff, our parents, our community come together, it is awe-inspiring, okay? This is why you wake up in the morning and do what you do. This is why we wake up in the morning and do what we do. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. They're the reason why I come to work every day with the gusto that I come with. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to 7A, Superintendent's Report. Anaheim Elementary School District's response to the 2023-24 Orange County Grand Jury Report on use of artificial intelligence in public schools K through 12. Alejandro Ramirez, our Director of Digital Education Services.
So, good evening, Board Clerk Magales, members of the Board, AESD community. I would like to introduce Alex Ramirez, Director of Digital Education Services, to present on responses on the use of artificial intelligence in public K-12 schools as requested by the Orange County Grand Jury.
Good evening, members of the board, cabinet. As Mr. Slusser mentioned, this is an informational presentation on AESD's response to the Orange County grand jury investigation on the use of artificial intelligence in Orange County school districts. The main intent and the purpose of why this investigation was initiated was to have an understanding of the use of AI in Orange County school districts and to bring light on how AI is used and being governed throughout the county. It also is meant to highlight how AI is being used to enhance learning and how we are preparing our students for the future. 3 findings were presented by the grand jury. First, there is no consistent way in which policies and or guidelines are being implemented across the county. Superintendents across the county support has also varied from district to district, and the use of resources and awareness of AI also varies from district to district. 5 recommendations were presented in the investigation for Orange County districts to consider. First one being that there's a need to implement policies and or guidelines regarding the use of AI to ensure that these policies cover at minimum the scope, the guiding principles, and the training for all users. A training on the appropriate use of AI for students and a training on appropriate use for teachers, and encourage ongoing collaboration and the use of resources that promote the effective use of AI in our schools and organization. Every school district is required to prepare a response to each of these recommendations. AESD has responded by indicating that we will develop an AI policy and or guidelines on the use of AI by its users. We will adopt a policy that is reflected in the employee use of technology agreement that addresses the responsible use of AI and its tools, and we will establish user cohorts and offer regular professional development opportunities for our teaching staff. Additional responses include being that our students are typically not over the age of 13 and most commercial products are not intended for their use. We do not have a plan to specifically train them at this time. We have, however, identified some common sense lessons for our 6th grade students on the basics of AI in our digital citizenship curriculum. We will also continue to encourage collaboration with and use of available resources to positively impact teaching and learning. AESD has already started having conversations and developing an initial plan for how AI will be implemented. We will also start expanding these conversations in the future to address our responses to the grand jury. Actions we have taken include attending the Orange County Department of Education's OC Forward workshops on AI beginning in the year 2023 and continuing throughout this school year. We did, in fact, as mentioned, add 3 common sense AI lessons to our 6th grade digital citizenship curriculum. We have also developed an AI message that is in draft form, but I can tell you that it focuses on the understanding of AI basics, academic integrity, ethical considerations and digital citizenship, privacy and security, and the identification of suitable AI tools. We also have a plan to establish professional development cohorts for our teaching staff that will address the ethical use of AI in an educational setting. And that concludes our responses and the information that how we responded to the Orange County Grand Jury. Any questions?
Yes, thank you very much. Just a question regarding the anticipated cost to implement these different recommendations. Do you have an idea on an estimate for that?
If the district were to choose to subscribe to the use of an AI tool such as ChatGPT and upgrade to a subscription, then there would be a cost. Otherwise, most AI platforms can be used free of charge by users, and still get the benefits of what we are looking for in terms of how they can be used professionally by our staff and users.
Okay, thank you. And then in terms of professional development, can we incorporate or embed that in our existing time that we have, our existing days of professional development, or will this be something supplemental outside of any other time that's going to increase costs for staff time?
Currently, we are following the same model that other on how other professional development opportunities are offered, and this would be in an after-school setting, which would indeed be there would be a cost in terms of providing additional pay for teachers who wish to participate.
Okay, and that would vary depending on the level of interest.
Correct.
Of the participants. It's not required. Or
Correct.
It has to be offered.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
First of all, I just love that one of the first professional developments that we're going to be offering is on ethics in terms of the use of AI. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Awesome.
Ethics will always be a part of what we offer in terms when it comes to AI.
Yes, I love that primarily because it is here. And as much as I am scared of artificial intelligence, to properly use it so that we have citizens, and I mean, these are the future of our nation, these kids, and to make sure that it is ethically done properly, I think is so important. So I commend you on making sure that that's one of the very first PDs that we offer in our district. Thank you for the presentation. Board members, do you have any other questions?
I just would like to keep a pulse on this. So I think what it sounds like to me is we're looking into training our staff into how to use an AI tool to make your job effective and efficient, right? So
Correct.
I'm not trying to teach a teacher how to tell a student, don't write an essay with AI because it's bad. I think it's more like how do we inform our staff on using it as a tool that supports your classroom, that enhances something that's already there, as a supplement, not as like a replacement, right?
Correct.
As you're saying, I'm thinking about my own children not having access to AI until they're older, until they have a device of their own, right? So I would like to see more of what the conversation leads into on how we're showing our children how to use it, because they don't really have access, or they shouldn't. So that's the other thing, right? So the other piece becomes, how do we inform our families and our parents about this tool and how it exists, and in you providing access to your child to have a phone or technology in front of them, and you're not watching them, what are they doing with it? I think that's the education piece that we need to also focus on in our community space, because it's out there, and a lot of our parents do know about AI, or they've heard of it, or they've seen, I don't know, a TikTok about it, right? So they know maybe some surface level things about it. But I think in knowing about it, and as a tool, as a professional myself, I can see how it helps me as a tool to organize things, right? As easy as to tell it, can you draft me an email that includes this, this, and this, and this? And then you look at the email, and then you say, well, okay, no, I'm gonna tweak that, right? So to make it my own. So those conversations are important. So I'm looking forward to see where we head with this, and I appreciate you coming up with this. I mean, you were told you had to do it, but question mark. That's a lot more to think about, right? So it got me my wheels spinning. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Along those lines, I'm very interested in the common sense training for the sixth graders, to know a little bit more about that. And I'll just throw some things out, like, for instance, are the parents is the training a day? Is it ongoing? Is it, spread out, or is it just like a concentrated course?
It's the way Common Sense rolls out their digital citizenship lessons. It's usually usually anywhere between 30 to 60-minute lessons on a variety of topics that we have chosen that are key for our students in order to know and to learn about, so that they can be better users of technology, better informed, and ethical use, as was said. For our sixth graders, a lot of those lessons would primarily fall on what is AI. Many of our sixth graders already experience AI without even knowing, Netflix being a good example. That cue is developed based on what we input, and it's a form of AI that many of us take for granted because we don't think about how AI is being used in the simple cue.
Okay, that kind of answers what I was
Yeah.
going to say is an example of kind of what we're going to be saying to them or showing them. But I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch it. Is this, you said there's different lessons?
Right.
So those are going to be spread out? Or
Yes.
over the course
Of the year.
Of the year?
Yes.
Okay. Do the parents have access to seeing that training?
Yes, in the past, we've also provided presentations at parent meetings and parent groups on digital citizenship, where they also have the opportunity to sign up and register on the Common Sense website. Very, very useful and very informative in terms of what kind of video games, what kind of movies, what kind of information is appropriate for different age groups, and they can make those informed decisions.
Are those, is that access just through like the school site's Parent Square? Do we have it on our website, or are we going to have it on our website?
We can include that on our website, but Common Sense is available to the general public.
Okay. And I think that, and just sixth grade, correct?
At this point, yes, that's what we deem as appropriate, because most commercial AI platforms are not appropriate for children under 13, and none of our kids are
Exactly, yeah.
13.
Okay, thank you. It was, thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, board members? Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to 7B. On June 5th, 2024, Vibrant Minds Charter School submitted a request that the district board approve material revisions to its charter because Vibrant Minds plans to relocate its operations to a site located at 320 West Broadway, Anaheim, California. On June 26, 2024, the district board held the required public hearing on the provisions of a request by Vibrant Minds Charter School to materially revise its charter petition. During the public hearing, the board considered the level of support for the materially revised petition by district teachers, other district employees, and parents or guardians. The board will now take action on Vibrant Minds' request for material revisions. Pursuant to Ed Code Section 47605B, on August 26, 2024, the district published the district staff recommendations, including the recommended findings regarding the Vibrant Minds request for material revisions to its charter petition. At tonight's meeting, Vibrant Minds will have equivalent time and procedures to present evidence and testimony to respond to the district staff recommendations and findings. This action is being conducted pursuant to Ed Code Sections 47605 and 47607. This action will proceed as follows. First, district staff will be given up to 10 minutes to make a presentation regarding their recommendations and recommended findings. This presentation may include the use of multiple speakers, presentation of testimony and evidence, and use of PowerPoint or similar electronic presentation program. Second, the board will hear public comments. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each. Speakers shall direct their comments to the board and are urged to avoid repeating points made by previous speakers. Third, board members may ask clarifying questions to staff and/or Vibrant Minds. Thereafter, I will entertain a motion on Vibrant Minds' request for material revisions to its charter petition. At this time, I call upon Assistant Superintendent Dr. Yadira Moreno to present the staff opening statement.
Good evening, Board of Education, Superintendent Chavarria, and community. We are here this evening for the board's action on the request for material revision to the charter of Vibrant Minds Charter School. Vibrant Minds is seeking a material revision to change its physical location from its current single site to a site located at 320 West Broadway. The proposed site is within the Anaheim Elementary School District boundaries. Vibrant Minds is seeking this revision because it has been unable to increase its enrollment at its current site due to space limitations and thus is unable to serve all students and parents interested in the educational option. If granted, Vibrant Minds would commence operation at the Broadway site in the 2025-26 school year. Currently, the school serves TK6 students and enrollment is approximately 240. If the material revision is approved, they will be able to expand enrollment to a max capacity of 480. As part of the material revision process, Vibrant Minds is also required to update the charter to conform with any new laws that have been enacted since the petition was last renewed. Staff completed its analysis of the request following California Educational Code regarding consideration of the requested materials revision of Vibrant Minds charter petition. In accordance with Educational Code Section 47605B, on August 26, 2024, the district published all staff recommendations, including the recommended findings regarding Vibrant Minds' request for materials revision to its charter. As explained in the staff analysis, district staff recommends the board approve Vibrant Minds' request for material revision to its charter and that the board initiates the action by adopting resolution number 2024-25-09. District staff and council are available to respond to any questions that you may have regarding this item. No questions?
Okay, no questions. Thank you, Dr. Moreno. Moving on to 2. Does Vibrant Minds wish to respond to the district staff recommendations and recommended findings? Who will speak on behalf of Vibrant Minds? Okay, thank you very much. Public comment. We will now take public comments on this item. Does any additional people from Vibrant Minds would like to speak? You also have 3 minutes. Hearing none. Clarifying questions from the board. Are there any additional clarifying questions from the board at this time?
I have one.
Okay.
Out of the 480 max that you're looking to increase your enrollment of, can anybody provide me a percentage of students that live within the Anaheim elementary boundaries of that increase?
So technically, it will end up being 468 max because of transitional kindergarten and the fact that you can only go up to 24. So 480 is what was on the CUP, but we don't intend to go beyond 468. I don't have those figures at my fingertips. I can get them to you by Friday, and I would be glad to present it to, Superintendent Chavarria. We feel it's about the same. We don't lose very many scholars from year to year. And so what I had shared last time is that the majority of the scholars are still from Central Anaheim, but we also are serving scholars in other districts, scholars that were homeschooled prior to attending our school as well as private. But I would love to get you the specific figures so I can be accurate for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Madam Philbeck?
If you could just give us a little more information, please, on your marketing strategy or plans. Will that include, for instance, mailers, billboards, setting up tables at festivals, research? Just do you have, if you wouldn't mind just giving us a little bit of insight onto what your marketing and advertising strategy is going to be?
We have been so fortunate we haven't done large marketing because we really want to cater and support to Central Anaheim. we do a lot of community events. So you'll see us at the tree lighting ceremony, and you'll see us at the Halloween parade and the fall festival and areas like that. Right now with our waiting list, we currently could populate any spots that we have, and we will be doing it through that slow growth model, starting with TK through third and then letting it naturally matriculate upwards. So we think that we will probably not do a lot that's different. We do want to make sure that our outreach creates a representative group from Anaheim and beyond. And when I say beyond, it's just because the charter school doesn't have the boundaries that a traditional district has. We do social media, we do Facebook, we do Instagram. We kind of on an ongoing basis try to populate that with the different events and activities that happen at our school, much like you do when you do the beginning of a board meeting and share what's been going on in the area. We haven't hired professional recruiters. We will never go in front of a school and just wait outside. We want to make sure that we are very ethical in our approach and just give parents an option, but not be aggressive in our approach either.
Okay, thank you. And one other question. How many classes in each grade do you have now, or do you anticipate, especially like in TK? Are you going to have one TK? Or, and I know you can't project but say your waiting list materializes into these other, do you have any idea about what your classes, how many in each grade that you have?
I can tell you exactly what our vision is, and then of course reality will modify vision if necessary. We would like to have 2 classes per every grade level. What we have found is it's wonderful to be small. When you have 1 class per grade level, it makes it more difficult for collaboration, for sometimes even switching up the dynamics from year to year. Right now our scholars are TK through 6, and basically it's the same cohort throughout. So we look forward to the ability to do a little bit more dynamic changes at times. So for our first year, 25-26, our intention would be to have 2 TK classes, each at 24. Then we would also have 2 kindergarten, first, second, and third classes. Our enrollment is currently at 32 per each class. We would like to downsize to 30. That's just one of those things we were trying to accommodate a waiting list, and I would really like to max out at 30 with the support of the teacher as well as the support of an instructional assistant.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I just want to clarify, is your program offering dual language or any language development at your site besides just traditional?
No,
okay.
You do that so well. Why would we try to do that too? You find in a small school environment it's very difficult, and although I really believe in the dual language immersion program, and when it was first initiated here as well, I was the senior director for school improvement, and I loved the concept and I was really supportive of it at that time. But we know that that's covered really well already.
Any other questions, board members?
All
Okay,
right. Thank you
moving
for
on.
your time.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. It is recommended the Board of Education discuss and take action on the request for material revisions to Vibrant Minds Charter School and adopt resolution number 2024-25/09. Can I get a motion?
So moved, Lopez.
So moved by Trustee Lopez. Can I get a second?
Second by Philbeck.
Second by Trustee Philbeck. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes 4-0.
Just to clarify, that was an aye because I was a little late. It was an aye.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to 7C, Language Development, Championing Access for Diverse Learners. Magali Rodriguez, coordinator of Multilingual Language Instruction Programs, and Valerie Valencia, Curriculum Specialist of Emergent Bilingual Support.
Good evening, Board of Education. I have the honor of sharing the title today and really are championing our access to our diverse learners, but it really is for us to speak about ELD pedagogy and our support of it in AESD. This is a call to action from a request at the August 14th board meeting. So with that, Magali Rodriguez, who is our coordinator, multilingual, and Valerie Valencia, who is also our emergent bilingual curriculum specialist, will lead you through the presentation.
All right, I want to make sure I don't kiss the microphone. All right. Hey, good evening, esteemed board, esteemed cabinet members. It is an honor to be here this evening with Valerie Valencia as we are highlighting championing access for diverse learners through language development. So, succeeding the 2016 passing of Prop 58, California English Learner Roadmap was developed and implemented really as a guide to help guide, and it provides statements of how a district should respond and what systems should be in place in order to best meet the needs of English learners. It is broken down into 4 principles. We start with principle 1, which is really talking about the who. It's talking about the student, the profile of a student. What assets does a student already bring from the home, and how do we celebrate that and engage in and then amplify within our classroom settings? So in the spirit of that, I want to highlight English learner. Here in Anaheim Elementary School District, we use an interchangeable term, which we call emergent bilingual. And emergent bilingual term celebrates students and what they already bring from the home, but it also encompasses multiple languages, not just English. And so principle 2 focuses on the how students engage in their environment, curriculum with other adults throughout their day. Principle 3 speaks to the what. This is what we use, the resources, assessments, professional development, leadership development, that capacity building. And principle 4 is our why. This is an articulation across systems as early education all the way to 12th grade and beyond. But what is it that we're doing, that through line that we see, always keeping at the forefront, that our ultimate goal is for that language acquisition for our students. So with the spirit of principle 1, who are our multilingual learners? Here at the Anaheim Elementary School District, 57% of our students are emergent bilingual or former emergent bilingual, also referred to as reclassified students. Again, this is our student profile here at Anaheim Elementary School District. So if we look at where we have the globe, we have 49 distinct languages represented in our school district, 49. That includes dialects, that includes verbal, nonverbal languages, and these are the top 5 proportions of our district. So below you will see that we have 4 offerings of languages for our language opportunity programs for our families. We have English, Spanish, Korean, and Mandarin immersion. And this is a breakdown of what you see, the composition of our emergent bilinguals, reclassified students, English only, and initial fluent as well. And
Magali, I'm sorry, I have to ask, just because I am Filipino, is it Tagalog or another dialect?
Tagalog. Tagalog. Yes,
Thank
it
you.
is. Yes, it is. And so you see the different colors represented. Yeah, that's right. It is. It should be Tagalog. Okay, so as we move on and we talk about not only the California English Learner Roadmap, but we talk about framing ourselves around the English language development framework as well. And so it's important for us to note the difference between integrated versus designated ELD to ensure that both are being met. So when we talk about integrated, here is being led by our content area standard. Let's say, for example, mathematics. And then our ELD standards support that integration and they work in tandem together. Now, if we focus on designated ELD, here we're talking about that 30-minute protected time where the ELD standards are leading the work. It's talking about the structures of English and then of other languages as well, as we will see. And then the content supports that. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper on what that looks like. Notice that we have language development, again, encompassing when we're talking about that principle 4, ensuring that coherence across systems. So if we look at English language development, for example, we see here an image of English language development as you would see with Benchmark. Benchmark being our adopted curriculum. And so Benchmark comes with the ELD component where they talk to each other in terms of the content. And so that's represented TK through 6th grade. Now, if you will look at the right side, we have Spanish language development, Korean language development, and Mandarin language development. And here is what we're using, or the image of the different curriculum that's being utilized. But again, we're very intentional to ensure that we are developing the language within our DLI programs as well, to ensure that they have the same as we honor English language development, we're honoring the different languages. Even though the state doesn't tell us to do so, we still are honoring those languages. And then very briefly, just reminding ourselves the NA that you see before you, it's because TK is not yet available, or we don't have TK in Korean and Mandarin. Okay, so we're gonna move on to what does English language development look like in DLI. And before I start, I want to remind us of the model that we follow of instruction, being the 90-10 and then the 80-20. So what that means is, like, let's say, for example, in Korean and Mandarin, 80% of the time, we are immersing ourselves in the primary grades in those languages, and then 90% in Spanish. So what does that look like? We have a systematic approach to language development, or English in this case, by using hands-on English. And then during the Lexia English for our first grade, and then our second graders in the Korean program. So you'll notice it's a systematic approach, and that means that it lives in its own. It's a curriculum that we have found that's devoted to developing that language in our DLI program. So we don't simply we could have very easily just used a benchmark, but then it wouldn't be meeting the diverse needs that are needed within a DLI setting. And so here now we're going to talk about upper grades. So right now we're talking about the primary grades, right, that we're immersed in that language. And now in upper grade, we, as a reminder, we switch every 6 weeks the content. For example, language arts. When we're talking about English language arts, then we're utilizing benchmark. And when math is in English, we're using an into math approach. And we are the only district that actually utilizes the ELD standards within a content area such as mathematics, ensuring that we're bringing that language opportunity. Again, these are the grades that we use such curriculum in.
Now, to speak to the how, or the instruction piece, one of the things that we can be very proud about in Anaheim Elementary School District is this continuous improvement cycle, where teachers work at identifying the assets of their students. Who do they have in their seats in their rooms? And how are we meeting their needs as far as looking at their strengths and where they're going with their language development? So looking at data to start with, analyzing the strengths of those students and looking at setting goals with them. Looking at the resources that we have, we look at that grade level wise. We get the opportunity to be in a PLC together, talk about what our standards are, what they mean to us at our grade level, talk about best practices, English learner or emergent bilingual strategies to meet those needs. We lesson plan for those intentional purposes of meeting the need in designated ELD time or during our content areas in integrated ELD. We teach those lessons, we reflect on that practice, and then we come back to the conversation piece again, go to that PLC, talk about how our students were able to rise to those challenges, meet them where they're at, and then start the cycle all over again. So that's the continuous improvement cycle. When you walk through our classes, a lot of the strategies that you will see will be meeting those needs. Specifically in oral language and written language development, you might see teachers talking, asking students questions, having students repeat after them, working in collaborative settings, recalling information. If they're working on speaking, if that's the focus, if it's an oral language focus, then you might see students retelling information, talking to a partner in a structured pair share, summarizing information. What I love about our school district too is that we are looking at where those students are going in written language as well. This goal and this focus on literacy goes hand in hand with language and language development. So we're looking at shared reading practices, choosing words intentionally, writing. One of my favorite things that we see is the writing on the desks, writing on the whiteboards of sentences, just in that quick moment. And then more importantly, how do our teachers do this in our settings, in our language programs? Our teachers look at who are our students in our classrooms, including students with disabilities, all language programs. How are we meeting their needs? One of the things that Magali alluded to is that we have that 30 minutes of instruction that's directly devoted to that English language development piece and the resources that go with it, and our 20 minutes of protected language development time in that partner language, utilizing all of our programs. Another thing that we can celebrate here is the fact that we get to have celebrations not just by the state of reclassification and looking at those English level markers, those proficiency levels that they're meeting, but we also get to communicate to families how students are progressing towards reclassification. And again, something unique is not only do we have these language programs, but we have the means to celebrate those milestones met in Spanish, Korean, and Mandarin. So we have a reclassification criteria in all of those languages. Finally, that principle 4 that is so important to us is those communications between not just all of the programs and all of the teachers getting to work together, but that aligning of systems as students move on. We know that when students are reclassified, their language learning journey doesn't end there. We know that they become lifelong language learners. And I think this is a beautiful example of our English pathway to reclassification, and one way that we work with our families to communicate that as well. So that alignment of systems not only goes between our teachers, but also to families. And these are the magnets that we give at the beginning of every school year for our students who are emergent bilinguals, so that parents can see these are the goals that we have in mind for your emergent bilingual. This is where we're going to, and this is how we are going to meet the needs of your students and do our due diligence there.
Okay, so we've been talking about the who, the what, the how, and the why. So overall, we need to, once everything's implemented, it's really looking at what's happening inside the classroom. So this is great. We have the strategies, we have professional development, but we have a tool, the observational protocol for academic literacies. It's also known as the OPAL. And you can see the wheel there. We have the reflective practice, we have the peer coaching, professional development, and focused observation. So I'm going to focus on what's happening with observation. So it's a tool which we utilize to come into classrooms, and we are looking at interactions between teacher and student, teacher and their environment, and what's happening overall for that language acquisition and learning. And so this is not intended in any way to be formal, but it's more of a way to then have discussions over what's happening, set goals, and then that is what informs professional learning, coming full circle in terms of what's happening in the classrooms, and then what do we need to continuously do in order to ultimately reach that success that we all want at Anaheim Elementary School District, which is that acquisition of languages. Okay, that's all we had for you this evening.
All right, board members, any questions or comments at this time?
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation. Always very informative. As I recall, the last time you were here, there was discussion about our partnerships with Cal State Fullerton. I just want to check and see how that's going. If you could give us just a quick update. I know it wasn't really part of your presentation, but it ties in just in terms of our partnership, how our professional development is for our DLI teachers, what the interest is in having our teachers that are actually participating in that, since we're offering it as an additional resource. Our TOSA, who is supporting as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So a couple of things. So our partnership is ever going. We have really a true friendship relationship now with Dr. Rodriguez Vaz over at Cal State Fullerton. And one of the things that we are constantly looking at is having the opportunities for their students to come and observe in our classrooms and actively be participants. This year we also, or this summer, we actually partnered up with Cal State Fullerton and Anaheim Union High School District as well, and having students that were once in the DLI program now come back and serve our students as well as models. Also, what we have is in conversation having on how to bridge that professional development. And I think you're referencing the Become project that we once had. Cal State Fullerton is not currently having that offering. They're focusing right now on developing more of the pipeline in diverse languages beyond Spanish. And so I know that's where they're really finding their recruitment. But in terms of a big grant, I'm assuming that's the climate that's happening right now with funding, but we haven't heard of them launching anything as of this moment. There is the upcoming Saturday, and two Saturdays from now, they're offering a free taller. So they are in collaboration with the consulate in Spain here in Anaheim, and they're offering a free of charge professional development that we offer to all of our teachers. And the great thing about it is that it will be completely delivered in Spanish. And so those are those rare opportunities when you're actually able to hear somebody model for you, you always gain. So that's in the next coming weeks that we were able to email and invite all the teachers to participate.
Any other questions, board members?
Sure. Could we go back to slide number 9, please?
Sure. I'm glad we added the page numbers. Okay.
Okay, so what struck kind of like a thought process for me
Yes.
is when we're looking at our dual language kids, right?
Yes.
And they're in TK and they're in first and second grade,
Mhm.
and the model is that they are being taught a 90-10 model in
Yes.
Spanish.
Correct.
Some of those students are getting ELD.
Yeah, so that's what's sometimes difficult because we want to ensure that we're giving you information, not too much, right? So I always call it a beautiful mess, and I've called that before, right? It's chaotic, but it's very intentional to ensure that we're meeting the needs of all of our students. So what we offer, and again, it's unique to us within our dual language setting, is based on our data that we saw coming in years ago. Actually, Superintendent Chavarria was still a principal at the time, so we worked through it and ensuring that our students had a double dose of language. So our DLI students receive ELD for 30 minutes, and then they receive a partner language, let's say SLD, Spanish Language Development, for 20 minutes every day. And the way that that works is there's a very big difference in teaching in Spanish and teaching how Spanish functions and works, like different structures, grammar, the accent marks. And so our students in the primary grades, kindergarten through second grade, receive 2 dosages of languages.
Sure. So for me, in understanding what you just said about learning Spanish
Yeah.
first, right, which
Mhm.
is a great model that we're using.
Yeah.
If I'm not focusing just on that Spanish development and using some of my time for ELD, then we're, I think, taking away some of the learning that could progress in the Spanish language. That's just my opinion, right? So that's kind of a little red flag for me. Also, could you go back to, I think, 1 or 2 slides past this? Next one, yeah.
Mhm.
So right here, okay, so we have Juanita and we have Juan, right? Right there at the front.
Mhm.
Juanita and Juan. Let's say Juanita's parent filled out the home language survey and said that they spoke Spanish at home.
Mhm.
Juan filled out the home language survey that says, I only speak English at home.
Mhm.
Do both of those kids get ELD, or does Juanita get ELD and not Juan?
Both of our students are receiving ELD.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the model is not based on home language survey classifying our children as emergent bilinguals. It's based on, that's what we do in dual language.
So this isn't specific to only dual language. This is within our language setting. And so the way that the ELD structure, let's say benchmark, for example, the curriculum, the way that it's structured, it is intended to meet beginning with students. And as you move through, our teachers are then meeting the needs in terms of modifying, and it's all spelled out within the benchmark setting. So yes, initially all of the students are starting, because I'm gonna go back to when we talked about the content versus the ELD standards, right? So in this scenario, the ELD standards are driving the instruction, and it's connecting to the content. Let's say, and probably the teachers are gonna hate me for this, I'm gonna reference the corn, right? The corn units that everybody loves. So it talks about corn within the language arts. And then during ELD, you're referencing those entry points and access that the students need to be able to access that content. And the scaffold is released as you go through, let's say, the ELD lesson. The scaffolds are released. So ultimately, the students that no longer, I think Juan was the one that was EO only, they no longer need the scaffold. So you're releasing those students, whereas Juanita might need more supports. And that's where the craft of the strategies that we mentioned in the earlier slides really come into play.
Yeah, because what I'm thinking about is if they're both receiving ELD, even though one of them's not considered a emergent bilingual, then what's the difference in their educational program, right? If I'm supposedly a student who needs to learn English versus not, but then also you're in a dual language setting whose purpose is to introduce you to the target language, immerse you like 90% of the day, right? So it seems, to me, I think I want to go see it, because it doesn't make sense to me that we're providing Juan ELD when the purpose of his schooling at that point is to learn Spanish and learn it well at the pivotal point of his development. And eventually the English development is already embedded into his schooling as we switch into like 80-20, like right, 70-30 until 50-50. So that's something that kind of, to me, seems a little off.
Yeah, I would love for you to come and see it, because it has to be intent. And that's one thing that initially when we first started DLI, we didn't have those 2 language blocks. I'm just going to call them the 2 language blocks. And there's a big difference in when you're acquiring language on having, let's say, SLDing all day versus having that intentional grammar lesson, I noticed that this is what you're missing, and like the tilde, for example, it's a very popular common item that's usually missing, the accent marks. And so without having that explicit lesson taught, expecting to somehow have a teacher remember, hey, I need to teach this somehow, some way throughout, is very different than intentionally having that planned out, modeled lesson. So, but absolutely come and see it, and we would love to walk
My
you.
other concern is I'm thinking about it, is what I'm trying to like figure out, is ELD used as a way to make up or for maybe a student who's not performing well, who's in these programs, or is it a blanket? Everyone's getting ELD no matter what. You're moving on. Let's say Juanito is like the English only speaker, right? He's doing really well in school, so then he just moves on and is getting ELD because part of the program. Juanita is a dual language immersion student, right? Who's not doing well in either language, right? Who's just, who needs supports academically. Are we increasing her ELD because we think that language is a deficit, or are we finding other ways to support her? Because I just want to make sure that we're not inappropriately providing services because we're seeing a deficit in a child that's perceived historically.
So you mentioned Juanita being in DLI. So in DLI, it's the 30 minutes of allocated time, and it doesn't go beyond that, not in a DLI setting, because again, referencing the immersive, like we know it's 90-10. The 10 only comes with that strategic ELD time, or really I'm gonna even remove the label. I'm gonna call it strategic English instruction that they need. Every 10% is increasing, and it's very targeted to ultimately reach that third grade 60-40 or the 50-50 in fourth grade. And so it's really just those 30 minutes, and it's ELD very intentionally structured where the rest is in Spanish. So if there's needs that arise with Juanita, I'm not worried about, I'm gonna talk about former teacher now, I'm gonna take off the administrator hat. I'm not worried about the English. The English, I need to focus on what I'm spending 90% of my day in, which is Spanish. So all my support, my interventions, my anything that's coming is gonna come during Spanish, in Spanish resources and based on my data. And that's how I would approach it. But the ELD, that's really coming, and may I add, it's the legal part. If she's considered EL, it's that legal mandate of the 30 minutes as well. Not that it matters, but it's really just prepping for what's coming with the 90-10.
Sure, I had a thought, and it's escaping me. Go ahead.
Can I just add, I just wanted to add from the standards standpoint as well, our framework was written so that students at a bridging proficiency level, those standards, those ELD standards overlap with our English language arts language standards. So a student at a bridging level is actually doing what a student at their grade level language standards are required to do, which is why that is okay in an English language mainstream class as well as the DLI class, because they are receiving that grade level content as well.
Sure, I remember what I got stuck on in my head. So maybe because I'm interpreting ELD as I know it as a teacher myself, where you're saying English instruction to these students, it's English instruction for that 10% that we're trying to target. I was reading it as we're giving them intentional ELD strategies no matter what, which is different than teaching something in English.
Correct.
Right? Like, I'm going to have a lesson for 10 minutes of math, and I'm speaking English. That's instruction in English, right?
Yes,
Sitting down with a student and talking phonics in English is ELD, right? So to me, it sounded to me like you were giving ELD strategies when you're actually meaning that you're providing English instruction in English.
Correct.
Okay, so that fixes the disconnect in my mind. The other question I'm having, or concern I'm having, is maybe you can speak to it because you were a former teacher, but Juanita's parents or grandparents or guardians filled out the home language survey because they're honest. And they say, yeah, I speak Spanish at home. And then they don't realize that Juanita actually doesn't really speak Spanish that much. She speaks English most of the time. So we are tracking kids into ELD based just on that home language survey, right? There's nothing else that is a measure that we're using?
Within the English class, yes. I wouldn't say tracking. We are using the home language survey, and there is a notification that goes out to parents that they have 30 days once the initial assessment is done, where they have the ability to change if they see that perhaps it's not the most accurate fit. I will lean into data a little bit of what we do see. is that sometimes when students come in, and let's say that they even have English only marked, but when we start to see the data in terms of parallel of where, because we have to remember that having a conversation in a language is very different than having those academic proficiencies in that language, right? And so even if they come in and say whichever one, let's say that the parents have identified as a language for the home, really what they need an academic for them to have access is having more of that language acquisition or the targeted language explicit instruction. And so that's what we're finding. And so when we talk about meeting the needs of students, sometimes it is beyond what it says. It's looking at what is this child, again, going back to that profile of the student, what do they need?
Right, correct, understand that.
Yeah.
But what I'm asking is maybe you guys can clarify for me, if I'm a parent, bilingual or not, and I fill out the home language survey, and let's say my mom speaks, I don't know, Swedish, Polish, whatever, speaks German,
English learner.
and I write German,
Mhm.
and then it gets turned in, and I'm going into an English-only program. I'm labeled an emergent bilingual, right? So I'm put into that path,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So most likely that child who grew up if they grew up here in the United States, they're 5 years old,
Yeah.
they only know English,
Correct.
right? And so we're tracking them into the system where we're testing them, and then they're maybe not being able to pass the LPAC because of other reasons, not language. And then they keep getting tracked as emergent bilinguals through the rest of their career and get kind of stuck and labeled, right? So what I'm trying to get at is what is the mechanism, and I'm just making sure to get clarity for my own reason, because I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to become an advocate to change this.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a lot of kids suffer at the junior high level, including my own family, right? They get to a stage in their life in junior high where now they're stifled by this LPAC test, and it came not because of really anyone's fault except for some mechanism that placed them in as a emergent bilingual that maybe wasn't an accurate depiction of who they really are. They were actually just English learners who had a parent who spoke a different language at home.
Trustee Alvarez, Dr. Marino has something. Oh, Superintendent Chavarria has something to add.
We also get the flip side of that, where parents intentionally say, no, they don't speak Spanish, it's only English, but then they don't get the support that they need because they're identified as English only. I think what the other piece to this, having been a former teacher myself, is just because the student is an English learner, in that classroom, we don't give the same lesson to everybody, right? You have to identify the needs of each particular student, and within that 30-minute ELD time block, it doesn't mean that everybody gets the same thing. Different students get different things. So if you already are proficient where you're writing and reading, we're not gonna be talking, repeat these words because we're kind of holding you back in that sense, right? And I think in the DLI perspective, kind of like you said, if a parent identified you as an English learner or emergent bilingual, right, we are obligated to offer a 30-minute, English instruction. But in the DLI, we make it part of the percentage that we have to do English, so it doesn't impact, like you said, the Spanish development, if that is the target language that we're working on, right? So I just want to make sure that people out there don't misunderstand and think that if I'm in a 5th grade classroom, that all those 5th graders, regardless of their language status, because it's ELD time, that everybody's getting the same lesson, because they're not. We are making sure that every student gets what they need, and that's why we talk about designated ELD versus integrated, right? And integrated, if I know that you're somebody that we constantly have to provide you some language support, then as a teacher, I'm gonna make sure that I provide that during math and other areas, not necessarily only during that 30-minute time block, right? Because we wanna develop your language throughout the day.
Dr. Marino?
Superintendent Chavarria kind of shared what I wanted, but yes, kind of going back to your original question, the home language survey, exactly how you said, California defines that as long as you're hearing another language within the household, you are classified as a English only, as a emergent bilingual.
So as a district, when we get that data, we automatically, okay, this kid is emergent bilingual, therefore they're going into the path of having to take the LPAC to reclassify out. Whereas, here's my example. This is literally my own family, okay? My older sister, immigrant from Mexico, right? Born in Mexico, brought over as a child. when she went to school, she was labeled an English learner. So she got ELD her entire life, right? She's 8 years older than me. At 8 years old, when she's helping my mom fill out the home language survey, which is what 8-year-olds in our households do, she knew that she got placed in ELD, right? So she knew the connotation of being labeled an English learner back then, right? So what did she do when she helped my mom fill out the home language survey? Same household. She put English, 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 English. We were all emergent bilinguals. I'm still an emergent bilingual, guys. Right? So the entire trajectory of the rest of her siblings was completely different based on the fact that she was savvy enough as an 8-year-old to advocate for her family, right? So what I'm trying to figure out is how can I, the result of that, advocate for our families, right? Because I think in more cases than none, it's going to be this child is going to be tracked as an English learner, even though their majority of their speaking is done in English, right? There might be some deficits maybe in academics based on not language, based on I'm just not good at math. I hate writing essays. History is just not my jam, right? Those are some things that are hindrances to many people, right? So I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out how I, as a person in this space, can advocate for families to not get their kids stuck in certain mechanisms that stifle their educational experience, right? So that's kind of where I'm at. So I apologize for this long-winded explanation, but I feel it's important for our families to know that there's stuff out there that they can do differently that might actually lead to a more effective path for their children, right? So
Alvarez, just to want to add something that we agree with you, we understand, but there's another component that we haven't talked about, that in a situation where the student is actually pretty English proficient and the parents kind of wrote the second language, our team actually, our data team and others actually test the students right at the start. And so some of our students are identified as English proficient right away, even though they marked, right? So we say initially fluent, that they're fluent, and they don't go in that path anymore because maybe the parent made a mistake by saying they know another language, but they're pretty fluent in English, right? So that is another mechanism that we try to use to do that. But I understand your point that sometimes we're setting you in a different path.
Sure. So a child who gets the home language survey filled out, Spanish, whatever, German, whatever, and then we test them, and let's say they don't do well on that test. So we're using a standardized test to do a measure of something that maybe isn't the best way to measure. So let's see what I'm saying, getting at. So you might not catch a child who is actually mostly speaking English doing well on this exam, and then maybe not appropriately supporting them as well. So I'm just saying, kind of like the response to that. I'm glad we have that catch, because I thought it was you fill out the home language survey, you're done, like it's it. But if there's a catch, I appreciate that, because that's advocacy, right? So we can just maybe work on refining that, maybe figuring out other ways to determine whether these children should be set on the path of being labeled a certain way, So.
Any other questions, board members? Madam Philbeck.
Just to state that actually what you're saying, if anybody thinks this is sort of a new conversation, it isn't, because I can remember back, and this was over 10 years ago, when I worked for the State Assembly, there was an elected official who had a stepdaughter who, because of the box that was checked on that survey, got thrown into the emergent bilingual, I guess, category. And he advocated for years, was even trying to make it part of legislation, because it was the wrong path. And it was simply because of, and I think that's what you're saying. And I can remember that very clearly, and now what you're saying, it really rings a bell with me with what he was saying all along. This is not right. Had we known, we just checked a box and it threw her into this pathway that wasn't the correct one at that time. She couldn't get out of it. So this was years ago. So this is not a new conversation. And it definitely is something that I respect what you're saying, because I recall the same thing, and it was at least 10 years ago, and it was the survey, and it was exactly what you're describing.
Trustee Lopez.
Thank you very much. It just occurred to me because this is kind of a cumbersome type of situation where it does set a student off on a certain trajectory. I don't know if DAC, DLAC has looked at this or something that they could have on their agenda just to flesh out some of the details. So we could, and I was kind of going in the same direction as Trustee Philbeck, is that this something we could examine or lobby our state legislative representatives so that they could maybe put something out there, because I don't know what the answer is either. I don't think we're going to solve it tonight, but I think it's something that's an ongoing conversation.
We have DAC DLAC next Wednesday, and one of the next Tuesday. Sorry, I'm like Tuesday agenda. And one of the items that we are discussing is that lapse times during the initial assessment and the 30 days that parents have the autonomy to change their initial request or the initial thing that they put on the form. But it's really, how do we continue to push and communicate that those 30, like, you're not logged, you have 30 days, which is, I acknowledge it's not a long time, but how do we continue then talking to our parent leaders on how do we communicate that more broadly and consistently and more often so that parents are aware that they have those 30 days to still make a change?
Yeah, I think it's just as simple as, could we give our parents a guide that says, if you answer your home language survey this way,
we have
this is
Yep.
your child's trajectory in education.
Yes.
If you answer this way, this is the
Yeah.
trajectory. I'm looking at this. Oh, they're going to be an English learner. No, thank you.
Yes.
English only.
Yes, we
And
have.
I'm
We
like
have
not
that.
saying we are
Yeah.
encouraging people to lie, but I'm just saying, like,
Mhm.
what's right for people.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of more.
Yeah,
on that.
so we have the communication that we share, but again, yeah, how do we make it more consistent so everybody? That's always the thing, right? How do we reach every single person so that they're aware it's a continuous communication?
Any other questions, board members? Thank you very much.
Of course.
Moving on to 7D, 2023-24 unaudited actual budget report. Matthew Slusser, our Assistant Superintendent of Administrative Services.
Good evening again, board, ASD community. Before I begin presenting the 23-24 unaudited actuals, I want to thank our Director of Business and Fiscal Services, Eduardo de la Cruz, as well as our respective team for all their hard work in helping to prepare this report and close the books for year end. So what are the unaudited actuals? So really this is a comparison of what was estimated at year end, and now it's comparing to what we close the books with. It allows us to prepare our financial statements for year end, as well as the financial status at the end of a fiscal year. It also compares revenue and expenditures from what was projected to what we actually received. And then it captures carryover as well for any future obligations. So I'll begin with the unaudited actuals revenue. I will go into further detail the next few slides to explain the variances in these areas, but I'll go big picture by each of the sources. So LCFF sources, the change of just under $200,000. Federal funds, a change of just over $400,000. Other state funds, approximately $1.5 million. Local funds, almost $2.2 million. So our total revenue, it was estimated at $326.3 million. We actually received almost $330 million for a difference of $3.4 million. This next slide is a chart that shows the comparison of each of the sources. As you can see, the largest portion there is LCFF funds. It's approximately 70% of our revenue received. So out of the total, it's really the largest portion of that funding source. Next would be other state funds, followed by federal funding, and then that last portion there, local at the top. So with changes to revenue, I'll begin with LCFF. Change was due to special education property taxes. That's part of our AB 602 calculation. The amount came in almost $200,000 more than what was projected. Moving on to federal, approximately $400,000 less. This is due to our Stronger Connections grant, as well as our Title I funding. As you may know with this, this revenue source, we book what we actually spend. So we did not spend as much as projected, therefore we did not book that same amount as well. For other state, it was approximately 1.5 million. This is due to an increase in unrestricted and restricted lottery, as well as fully spending the LCFF equity multiplier funding that we received. And the last one there, almost 2.1 million. This is due to changes in interest rates that is posted by the Orange County Treasurer, as well as revenue investment increases. Some changes to our Medi-Cal MA revenue that was received, and then also booking the Child and Youth Health Grant. So next I'll move on to the expenditures for unaudited actuals. And I'll go big picture as far as changes. I'll start with certificated, classified, and then benefits. That does total 83.4% of our budget. We were just off a net of that of 0.2%. So very close on budgeting with that. We were really able to capture what was projected versus what we actually spent. Next, books and supplies, almost $300,000 in that area. Services, approximately 1.8 million there. Capital outlay, very close at just approximately $4,000. And then other outgo, approximately $600,000, with that total being almost 2.25 million. So we did spend less than what was projected. This next chart, it really, again, it shows a comparison of our expenditures. Our total salaries and benefits, it's 83.4% of our budget. So the majority of our expenditures are on people and benefits. And then it also shows a breakdown of those other portions. So again, the majority of our funds are spent on people invested in our staff. Next, moving on to the major changes in expenditures. Salaries and benefits, at 0.2%, there were really no significant changes to report on that. We got very close to what was projected. Books and supplies, almost $300,000. That was due to field trips, savings in fuel costs. Again, we also have alternative busing or alternative fueled buses to transport our students. And then some changes to materials and supplies. We did not receive goods and items in as projected at estimated actuals. Moving over to services, approximately $1.8 million difference. That was due to the ESSER 3 summer grant. We fully spent that. We did not project to do so. That needs to be spent by September 30th. So we spent it as of year end, as well as the Stronger Connections grant, not fully spending the amount that was projected. And then special education service agreements, as well as some licensing, was not spent as projected. Last piece there, capital outlay and other outgo. We are off $600,000 with that. That is due to special education county program costs. So those are the costs that we pay for the county to serve our special education students. Next slide here, going to take a look at estimated actuals and unaudited actuals fund balances. I'll start with unrestricted, then move on to restricted and a combined total. So at estimated actuals, we projected that we would have 45.68 million. It went up to 48.92 million, so the change in fund balance was almost $3.25 million there. Restricted general fund, estimated actuals, 40.5 million. Unaudited actuals, a little over 43 million for a change in fund balance of 2.48 million. Now looking at all that as a combined total, at estimated actuals, we projected 86.25 million. At unaudited actuals, we came in $5.72 million better for a total of $91.97 million. So now next steps for this, recommend that you, the board, take action to adopt the unaudited actuals report. After that has been completed, we will then file the documents with Orange County Department of Education. This is due by September 15th. And then we will work in collaboration with our external auditors to complete the year-end audit process, with this going to board in early 2025. And really then the item on our plate now is to prepare for the first interim report that will be presented to you in December. So with that, I thank you and open up to any questions you may have.
All right, board members, any questions or comments? Trustee Philbeck.
I'm just looking to see, the ESSER grant is how much?
I have that information. Let me grab it.
Is it I'm trying to think if that's the one I'm thinking that's like 4 million, 3 million, or what is it? I could be way off on that, I'm sorry. The ESSER, the ESSER grant.
The ESSER 3?
Yeah, the ESSER 3 grant is it's an addition to the other ESSER gear funds that we had received in prior years. It's specifically for summer school.
Okay. So that one is just for summer school, and then the one that we get, which was related to our after-school program, right? Is that what we're using now?
That was the ACES?
The ACES, okay, the ACES, okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting them confused. Okay, so the ESSER is the summer program grant.
Yes, and that was a one-time grant. That was $1,305,000, and we fully spent that in this fiscal year. It had to be spent by September 30th.
Okay, and so that was my next question is it a one-time, or
Yes.
is that something that we apply for every summer, or is it just that's a one-time thing?
It was a one-time thing that we received. We did work in collaboration with the YMCA. Part of that was spent on the YMCA, and then the remaining amount we were able to utilize to fund our staff and our expenditures for summer and supporting our ELAP program as well on that.
Okay, and for the ACES, now we have that every year, right, Dr. Moreno, because you would know this too. Yeah, so, and do we apply for that? Because I thought the YMCA had to actually apply for that, or do we? It was a pass-through.
It is a pass-through.
Yes,
we receive it. We're the lead agency on that, and it was passed through to YMCA. Now we're spearheading and taking that on, so we're able to provide that program internally with our district staff and resources.
Okay, so what I'm getting at is, since we're spearheading it, is that a secure grant for every year that we will have that? We don't have to apply and get denied, or, it's secure?
Correct. It is secure.
Okay.
In my 19 years in school business, we have received that every year. So it's been an ongoing item that it's pretty much guaranteed.
We're pretty safe
knock on
there.
wood.
Okay, and is that the one that's around 4 million?
Yes.
Approximately 4 million? Okay. Okay, but you're saying that the summer one will now go away, or do we have something else to,
So we have ELAP funds to use for the summer.
Okay, so that's what we're going to use. Okay.
Yes, the ESSER 3 grant was in addition to. It was a one-time opportunity that we took advantage of. And then to answer your question, the ACES grant was approximately $4.2 million that
I knew
came
it was
through.
somewhere around 4. Okay, so thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to 7E, it is recommended the Board of Education accept and approve the unaudited actuals report for the 2023-24 fiscal year. The unaudited actuals report for the 2023-24 fiscal year has been sent to the board under separate cover. The report is on file and available for public review on the Anaheim Elementary School District website. Can I get a motion?
So moved, Philbeck.
So moved by Trustee Philbeck.
Second, Lopez.
Seconded by Trustee Lopez. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. Moving on to the consent calendar. Items under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and are acted on by the board in one motion. There is no discussion of these items unless a member of the board, staff, or the public requests specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent calendar. So at this time, are there any items to be pulled? Trustee Philbeck? Nope. Trustee Alvarez? Trustee Lopez? And I have none. So hearing so, may I have a motion?
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second, Lopez.
Discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Passes 4-0. Moving on to 9A. Action calendar, Superintendent's Office. It is recommended the Board of Education adopt resolution number 2024-25/05 declaring the week of October 13 to 19, 2024 as week of the school administrator throughout the Anaheim Elementary School District. Can I get a motion?
So moved, Lopez.
So moved by Trustee Lopez.
Second, Alvarez.
Seconded by Trustee Alvarez. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Moving on to 9A2. It is recommended the Board of Education adopt resolution number 2024-25/06 designating October 21 through 25, 2024 as Red Ribbon Week throughout the Anaheim Elementary School District.
So moved, Alvarez.
So moved by Trustee Alvarez. Can I get a second?
Second, Lopez.
Seconded by Trustee Lopez. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Passes 4-0. Moving on to 9A3. It is recommended the Board of Education adopt resolution number 25/07 declaring October 25, 2024 as Larry Itliong Day throughout the Anaheim Elementary School District. Can I get a motion?
So moved, Alvarez.
So moved by Trustee Alvarez. Can I get a second?
Second, Lopez.
Seconded by Trustee Lopez. Discussion. I just want to pause and share that I'm incredibly honored that in the last 8 years that this board has passed this landmark resolution to honor Larry Itliong. Throughout the history books, Filipino Americans were not included as we fought alongside Cesar Chavez and many Mexican Americans. Together we are stronger. And I'm happy that we get to recognize Filipina and Filipino Americans on Larry Itliong Day. And I just want to say I'm very proud and really grateful that in the last 8 years we've passed this resolution to honor him. And yeah, that's all I want to share.
Thank you for bringing it to the table. That's also awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Trustee Alvarez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Moving on to 9A4. It is recommended the Board of Education adopt resolution number 2024/2508 recognizing October 14, 2024 as Indigenous Peoples Day throughout the Anaheim Elementary School District.
So moved, Alvarez.
Second, Philbeck.
Discussion. I'm also very honored to acknowledge Indigenous Peoples Day. I know also, in addition, we had a resolution about maybe 5 or 6 months ago as well, in terms of not Indigenous Peoples Day, but land acknowledgement, that we are able to acknowledge Indigenous peoples throughout this land. And again, just another thing I'm very proud of for our school district. Any other items anybody else want to discuss? No? All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Trustee Philbeck? I'm sorry.
Aye.
Okay, perfect. Passes 4-0. Moving on to 9B, Education Services. It is recommended the Board of Education approve resolution number 2024-25/02, instructional materials and officially certify that pupils in schools will have during the 2024-25 school year sufficient textbooks and or instructional materials consistent with the content and cycle of the curriculum frameworks adopted by the California Department of Education, Ed Code 60119 and 33126.
So moved, Alvarez.
So moved by Trustee Alvarez.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Lopez. Discussion.
I just want to make sure we're still continuing to run down that item in terms of individualizing education. We were talking about earlier that it's not a one-size-fits-all. So as we're looking at our textbooks and instructional materials and the cost, that we're still keeping that top of mind. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lopez. Anybody else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Number 2, it is recommended the Board of Education adopt resolution number 2024-25/03 in support of mental health awareness throughout the Anaheim Elementary School District. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
So
Philbeck.
moved by Trustee Philbeck.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Lopez. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Going on to 3, it is recommended the Board of Education adopt resolution number 2024-25/04 designating the month of October 2024 as National Bullying Prevention Month throughout the Anaheim Elementary School District. Can I get a motion?
So moved, Alvarez.
So moved by Trustee Alvarez. Can I get a second?
Second, Philbeck.
Seconded by Trustee Philbeck. Philbeck, sorry. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Say aye. Aye. Passes 4-0. Moving on to C, SELPA, there is none. Moving on to D, Human Resources. D1, it is recommended the Board of Education approve the tentative agreement between the district and Anaheim Elementary Education Association. The major fiscal consideration of the agreement includes the permanent addition of 1 scheduled workday for unit members to increase from 184 days to 185 days, effective with the 2025-26 school year.
So moved, Alvarez.
So moved by Trustee Alvarez. Can I get a second?
Second, Philbeck.
Seconded by Trustee Philbeck. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. D2, it is recommended the Board of Education approve the tentative agreement between the district and Anaheim Elementary School Management Association, AESMA. Can I get a motion?
So moved, Lopez.
So moved by Trustee Lopez. Can I get a second?
Second, Alvarez.
Seconded by Trustee Alvarez. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Moving on to D3, it is recommended the Board of Education approve the new job description and recruitment for Assistant Director of Administrative Services. This position shall be placed on range 25 of the Classified Management Salary Schedule, effective September 12, 2024. Can I get a motion?
So moved, Lopez.
So moved by Trustee Lopez. Can I get a second?
Second, Alvarez.
Seconded by Trustee Alvarez. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Passes 4-0. Number 4, it is recommended the Board of Education approve the appointment of employee number 09112024-01 to the position of Director of School, Family, and Community Engagement, effective September 12, 2024. Can I get a motion?
So moved, Alvarez.
So moved by Trustee Alvarez. Can I get a second?
Second, Lopez.
Second by Trustee Lopez. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Go on, Dina Mellon, our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Thank you. Congratulations to Cecilia Ramon. Ceci has been part of the Anaheim Elementary School District for over 31 years. She has served at several different school sites as a teacher, vice principal, and currently as the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program Administrator. Congratulations to Cecilia Ramon as she begins in her new position as Director of School, Family, and Community Engagement tomorrow morning.
Moving on to E1, Administrative Services, it is recommended the Board of Education approve resolution number 2024-25/12, establishing a final GAN limit for 2023-24 and a preliminary GAN limit for 2024-2025 as required by law. Appropriations subject to the limit for 2023-24 are $127,445,691.62, and the preliminary limit for 2024-25 is $130,051,925.43. Wow. The district's final appropriations for the 2023-24 and the preliminary for the 2024-25 are well within the limits and comply with all requirements. Can I get a motion?
So moved, Lopez.
So moved by Trustee Lopez. Can I get a second?
Second, Philbeck.
Seconded by Trustee Philbeck. Discussion. Hearing none, can we get a all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye vote passes 4-0. E2. It is recommended the Board of Education approve resolution number 4-25/11, designating Alexander Kang, Director of Facilities Planning and Construction, adding Jesus Chavarria, Superintendent, Matthew Slusser, Assistant Superintendent of Administrative Services, Eduardo de la Cruz, Director of Business and Fiscal Services, and removing Christopher Downing, former Superintendent, Priscilla Martinez, former Director of Business Services, as authorized agents and representatives of the district in all dealings with the State Allocation Board, the Office of Public School Construction, OPSC, and other various federal, state, and local agencies. The above district representatives will furnish information as required, conduct negotiations, and with business services, execute all school facility programs and overcrowding, relief grant applications required by the State Allocation Board. It is further recommended the Board of Education approve and designate Alexander Kang, Director of Facilities Planning and Construction, adding Matthew Slusser, Assistant Superintendent of Administrative Services, as CEQA officers of the district. Can I get a motion?
So moved, Lopez.
So moved by Trustee Lopez. Can I get a second?
Second, Alvarez.
Seconded by Trustee Alvarez. Discussion.
Could I just get a clarification what CEQA officer means?
So CEQA is California Environmental Quality Act, also known as CEQA. It is used when we are doing projects, completing projects. It's something that's filed to really give any stakeholder input prior to starting construction or doing any public works types items. And this resolution allows the signers to be able to sign on behalf of the district.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Moving on to 3, it is recommended the Board of Education resolution number 2024-25/13 acknowledging custodial staff for their hard work, dedication, and daily support for our students and declaring October 2, 2024 as Custodial Workers Appreciation Day throughout the Anaheim Elementary School District. Can I get a motion?
So moved, Philbeck.
So
Second.
moved by Trustee Philbeck. Second.
Second, Alvarez.
Seconded by Trustee Alvarez. Discussion. I just want to thank our custodial workers. They do an amazing job every single day. I am so appreciative of all of you all. Anybody else? All right. Moving on to the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. On to my favorite part of the night. We are moving to 10, our board discussion. Trustee Jackie Philbeck, you may begin.
Thank you. All right, I'll start with the back-to-school nights. The first, round one, I went to Franklin and Price, and on round 2, it was Jefferson and Westmont. And I just want to say how impressed I was with already how great the classrooms are looking, how amazing all the things, you know, just in a few weeks that have been going on at the schools. And they were well attended, the families were out in full force, and they were just really enjoyable evenings. So thank you to all the schools and teachers and principals and everybody that, and all the workers that helped put those together. And the PTAs were out in full force, so they were just great. I had an opportunity to attend with Superintendent Chavarria. We were over at Stoddard for the Philharmonic Society Awards. It was a Strike Up the Band grant for $7,500. Was that, Jesse? And they, I believe through Mrs. Kwan was who got that grant for us, right? The teacher? And they delivered guitars and saxophones. I mean, beautiful, beautiful instruments. And the kids were so excited, and you know, we're just really appreciative of these partnerships and these grants. And I hope to, I just want to say thank you to the Philharmonic for such a fabulous, you know, donation to us, and it really helps to, you know, shore up our music program, and we're just very appreciative and grateful for that. Let's see, I did also attend through First 5 a critical conversations about early childhood is everyone's business conference. And I mention that because there just was a lot of information given about how using the whole child, a whole family approach for supporting children and families, and that has a lot to do with what we do here at AESD. So there was a lot of data driving the work, and we gained insights into how early investments in children and families contribute to long-term benefits for the entire county. And I know here at AESD we believe in those early investments, so I'm very happy for that. I was also got to attend the AEEA meeting, was invited to visit everyone. Are those your association or council meetings, or what do you actually call those? Rep council meetings. And so I always appreciate the opportunity to get to kind of go into the hot seat for a little bit. No, everybody's really nice. Everybody's really nice. And just kind of get to have those conversations that we don't always get to have. So especially, you know, when you're in classrooms and things. So I appreciate the invitation to that. Also, the PTA had their first association meeting. I was happy and excited to be invited to that. And again, they're starting off the year just with a lot of excitement and expectations, and it's going to be a great year for the PTA. So, along with that, I also yesterday, I believe it was at the Parent Leadership Institute, their first meeting, and boy was I impressed with. I mean, we're outgrowing Key. We almost don't have enough room to get all the parent leaders in one place at one time. So that's a wonderful problem to have. But also, Superintendent Chavarie and I were able to hand out pins to the first year parents. And how many would you say there were? Do you know? About 80 for joining for their first year. And I think we're up to, it was over 600 about of parent leaders overall, or one, no, okay, well, what is the actual the overall is about 600. Yeah, 580, 600. Okay, so, and it was just a fabulous meeting with some presentations, and we had a good conversation about getting some ideas about what the parents are happy with, and maybe some areas that we can have some improvement. And that was a really good discussion. So it's always exciting. I can tell it's exciting to be in that room, and we're going to have a great year with that too. And before I finish, I just wanted to mention that, and this goes way back because I save everything, but I was going through some papers. And I don't know if the rest of you or who was around in 2016 who got this, but yes, I pulled this packet of letters from Mrs. Taronis, Angela Taronis's class, 5th grade class at Olive. Now, I believe these kids have probably graduated by now. And the reason I mention it is because, although I don't want to take anything away from our lovely students who came and advocated, I think they were from Lincoln, for the chocolate milk, which was very effective. I've got to give some credit to Mrs. Taronis's class, because here it is in proof, the letters advocating for chocolate milk right here. Now, I don't. They graduated last year, and I saved these. They were just great. And so I don't know why we didn't go forward with it at that time, but I've got the letters as proof that actually Ms. Taronis's class, they were there at the beginning too, and this is in 2016. And what was interesting is they also were given the opportunity to be against the chocolate milk. So there, and give me 1 second. There was one kid, my favorite letter was, it was if you have too much, you would vomit. And I thought that was really cute. So, and I was like, well, that's kind of, that's pretty clear, you know, so he was not for it. But anyways, I just wanted to note that, and even though it is several years past due, but I did find those and they were fun. And then I didn't want to pull this off the consent, but I would like to just mention, and I don't always do this, but it is nice once in a while to mention our gifts with appreciation, and that we received from Donor's Choice. We did receive the wireless music stands and Scotch thermal laminating pouches. That was for Stoddard, that went to Stoddard. And also, L3 Harris donated student backpacks with supplies valued at $3,639. So I just wanted to mention those gifts and how appreciative we are of when those things come to us. And that concludes my report. Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you, Trustee
listening.
Philbeck. Trustee Alvarez.
Thank you. All right, so I just want to start off with congratulations to the newly formed cabinet. Looking forward to the great work you're all going to do together. Okay, so it's kind of a different landscape, which is sometimes good things come from that, right? So I'm really appreciative of everything you've done to get to where you're at, right? Everyone here has invested in this district for several years, if not decades, right? So thank you and congratulations. I did attend the back to school night on the first night. I wasn't able to go to the second night, so on the first night, excuse me, I was able to go to visit Patrick Henry at their temporary site while we're rebuilding the school. So the feedback I got from some staff and some families is that they're really happy with being at that site, which also led me to believe that the school at Patrick Henry was not in good condition, right? Right. So the kids were happy to have like cleaner restrooms. The classrooms seemed newer, right? The campus just seemed like a better learning environment. So that's the vibe I got. So I'm just really proud of us and how we handle our finances and how we're able to construct schools from the ground up. That's not happening everywhere, and that's something special that Anaheim Elementary offers to our families. So in seeing that the families were just kind of so happy to be at the other campus, right, Orange Grove campus next door, right, I can only imagine how they're going to feel when we open the doors on Ramya Drive, right, for these families, and the amount of emotion that could pour out of that. Just that moment, right? Getting to see the place where your family grew up, because a lot of our families still live there. They went there, or they live nearby, right? Or they're your cousin, or they're you, right? And so just the emotion of, I'm anticipating, I'm really excited and proud of the work that we do, right? Because that's why we do this stuff, right? We are here to support our families and give them what they deserve. And I was reflecting a lot about that when I went to go visit them. So that was kind of a cool reflection to think about. And then I was able to drive over to Horace Mann, where my son Reese goes. He's in 4th grade, and Mr. Sanchez. Hello, Mr. Sanchez, if you're listening. So I was able to attend as a dad and just get a feel for the emotion that comes with like your child being in a new class and like taking pictures with the teacher, things like that. So it's always fun to experience that. And I'm just kind of thinking I'm just gonna be sad because it'll be out of there in 2 years, right? And it'll go by in a flash. So always great to see families there. There's always food there. There's always PTA doing something. The vibe is really good. The kind of cool vibe you get from being at Horace Mann is that it's like an outdoor amphitheater area, right? Even though it's kind of not intended to be that way, it became that, right? So like families will line up on the 2nd floor and they'll watch things that are happening, and then just a lot of activity, even a book fair going on, things like that. So good things. Always glad to see our families being able to engage with that. The only thing that I did see is that it's there's a lot of conflict with the feeder schools, right, and scheduling. So if I've already mentioned that we need to work on some kind of cooperation within the district so we can figure out a system so our families are not being torn, right? So I ended up going then to the Sycamore back to school night, and I saw parents there, and I had a different role, and they were like, hey, weren't you just at at Horace Mann? I'm like, yes, in fact I was. Welcome. Like, so it was just, it was visually I saw, right? The families went as fast as they could to our open house, and then they had to go somewhere else. And it's not really to blame anybody. It's just a matter of just realizing that we can do better for our families, right? So that's another idea that came from there. Other than that, I haven't been able to go to a lot of things. Just a lot of life happening, right? So I just want to continue wishing everybody a good school year, right? We've already kind of settled in. It's the 24-25 school year, but I'm hoping the best for everybody, and just keep doing the work. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Alvarez. Trustee Lopez.
Thank you, Acting President McAllis. I also was able, I just want to start off as well by just congratulating our new cabinet members. Hopefully everybody had a good first month of school. And then I just will start off by saying I was also able to attend a couple of school sites for our back to school night. Starting with Roosevelt, I always appreciate being able to visit the Mandarin program there. So it's one of my highlights going there, and Dr. Anna Kim does a great job of making sure I don't get lost and showing me around at all the great things going on, the book fair. Got to visit Mrs. Calleros' classroom, and then I was off to Man, so thank you, Miss Frankie. I was also able to see Jesse working the book fair. Reese was helping out as well, and I was able to visit Mr. Sanchez and Miss Tarrant while I was there. The following week for group 2, I headed over to Orange Grove, so want to thank Miss Good, Miss Berry, and Mrs. Switzer for letting me kind of sit in and as a fly on the wall and be able to sit in on a little bit of the presentation and see all the great things that our students are doing in the classroom on a daily basis. I was also able to pick up some Orange Grove swag. I got a new shirt thanks to, so I'll be sporting that. Thank you, Dr. Valdez and team there for hooking me up with that. And then I was off to Gwynn Elementary, where I was able to visit Mrs. Vong and Mr. Canto there at Gwynn. And it was a busy day because we had the ELOP family night. The theme was celebrating linguistic diversity. We saw it in some of the presentation from Ms. Gordillo was the music, the energy. We had a lot of families there celebrating, participating in that. So it's great to see that there's, it's kind of a good problem to have that there are so many events going on to be able to get to all of those different things. So really appreciated that. And then I was able to, on September 3rd, attend a community schools meeting. It was with our feeder high school district, which was great. I mention it because we had a lot of parents who have children, their parents in both districts. Some of our staff here are also parents in multiple districts. So it was great to see that partnership. Very full meeting, dinner, fellowship, different testimonials. A lot of our parents who attended the Empower conference in Los Angeles over the summer were there. Mrs. Maritza Bermudez, who was here earlier, did a great job of providing a presentation and coordinating with a lot of the parents who were up there as well to just give an update on how our community schools are growing, our parent leadership opportunities that they have to build that capacity is growing. So I thought that was a great time. It was about 2.5 hours of really learning and dialoguing with one another. So it was a great time. And then September 4th, I was able to attend briefly. I hadn't been to a Los Amigos meeting in a while, quite some time, but Superintendent Chavarria was there. So unfortunately, I missed his presentation, but he, by all accounts, did a great job, and we'd expect nothing less. So thank you, Mr. Chavarria, for representing AESD and providing updates about all the wonderful, amazing things that we're doing here. So I really appreciate that. A couple other, just a quick announcements I wanted to make, just because this really ties into our mental health resolution. And similar to those, we had our moment of silence for earlier for our 9/11. I just want to take a little bit of time just to recognize those who are lost to suicide every year. This week is National Suicide Prevention Week. So wearing purple or teal, those are the colors to wear to really bring awareness to that. Looking at the statistics, about 50,000 people dying of suicide. And it was mentioned in our resolution briefly as well. But that's the equivalent of about 17 9/11s every year. So that's something really to take into consideration, I think, just to reflect on that. I know my work site will be having an awareness day on Friday. So I just wanted to bring that kind of the forefront to something that needs to be discussed in terms of resources, checking in with one another, making sure that we're there for each other as best we can. And also just want to mention next week is, also as a social science teacher, just wanted to mention Constitution Week is next week. So I know, there's a lot of civic engagement, civic involvement this time of every even year. So there's no difference. So I just want to bring that up as well. So anyway, with that, I'll conclude my remarks.
Thank you, Trustee Lopez. All right, so my report, I absolutely want to congratulate this new cabinet. I cannot wait for the amazing things that you're going to do together as a team. Just so proud and look forward to serving and working with all of you in my last 2 months of my term here at Anaheim Elementary School District. Back to school night was amazing. I'm just so proud. You know, when I was speaking to, I focused on the administrators this year. I've never done that in my year term. Just ask questions about setup and whatnot. And I didn't realize some of our administrators are there from like 6 a.m. all the way to 6 p.m., like literally 12 hours. So for this year, I want to give kudos to all of you. I know that it's a lot of work for all of our teachers, all of our faculty and staff, our parents. You know, it is definitely an amazing night. I really, I was very intentional in going to various teachers, and it's just beautiful how each and every teacher has their unique style. Some multitask in terms of having parents sign up for their parent-teacher conferences at the same time getting ready for the presentations, having the common goals and common things from district, school site, and then their own personal touch. It was just an amazing event. So great work to all the faculty and staff at both Barton and Madison. Okay, moving on to future agenda items. Board members, do we have any future agenda items you would like to add? Hearing none, and before our adjournment, and by the way, it was such an honor being president one last time, we have to give Trustee Philbeck our birthday song. 3, 2, 1. Happy birthday to you, cha-cha-cha. Happy birthday to you, cha-cha-cha. Happy birthday, Trustee Jackie Philbeck. Happy birthday to you. Woo!
Thank you very, very much.
With that said, I adjourn this meeting at 8:41 p.m.